We're finally doing a meal prep episode without rice. This apricot chicken tastes absolutely incredible and it's super easy to make. Let's do it. Starting out with the prep, we're going to need 2 heads of broccoli. We can stand this up and trim off the florets from the stalk. We will be using the stalk, so don't throw that away. And with the florets, just trim them down, making sure they're all the same size. That way they'll cook at the same rate. Obviously, the smaller the better, the quicker they'll cook, but you can have it larger if you wanted to. As for the stalks, we can remove the woody ends and then we can slice these up and just trim them down the same size as the florets. Again, they'll cook at the same rate if they're all the same size, and these are packed with fibre and nutrition, and they taste a little bit sweet, so the flavour is really well worth putting these in. Next, we're going in with 250 grams of green beans. We're just going to remove the woody stems. You can do it with a knife or snap them by hand, and then simply just slice the beans in half. That's all we have to do. We're then going to need 2 cloves of garlic that can be ran along a microplane or fine box grater, just creating a paste, and this is going to be used for our apricot sauce. As for our main source of protein, it's 1 kilo of boneless and skinless chicken thigh. We want to dice these into large, even-sized pieces, slice them in half or thirds depending on size, and then slice straight through the middle into little pieces like this. Place it into a large mixing bowl and follow that up with 5 grams of both onion and garlic powder, big pinch of salt, and then some ground white pepper to taste. Obviously don't taste it. And then about 2 teaspoons of peanut oil, and just give this a really good mix through just until everything's combined, and then we can pop this aside for the time being. Now for the apricot sauce, what I have here is 250 grams of apricot nectar. This is just a fruit drink and it's actually really low in sugar, but you can use any apricot jam or preserve that you can get. I'm going to add this to a mixing bowl along with 50 milliliters of low sodium soy sauce, that garlic that we made into a paste just before, 20 grams of light brown sugar, which is completely optional, and then 12 grams of corn flour or cornstarch, which is going to react with the heat and then thicken our sauce. Hit it up with a little bit of ground white pepper and then just give this a really good mix through with a whisk just to break up that corn flour or cornstarch until smooth, and then we can pop this aside. Like I said in the intro, we're finally doing a recipe without rice. What we're going to do is place a large saucepan over a high heat, add in 450 milliliters of chicken stock or vegetable stock, allow this to come to a boil, and then we're going to place in 300 grams of dried couscous and give this a really good mix through. I wish I had a bigger spoon here, but for some reason I couldn't find any of them. Once you've mixed that through, completely take it off the heat and cover it with a lid, and we're going to allow this to sit for 5 minutes, but please do follow the instructions of the brand of couscous you're using because every instruction's a little bit different. Once your couscous has sat for 5 minutes, remove the lid and then fluff it up with a fork just to break up the grains. We're then going to hit it with 20 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil, which will also help loosen it up and add a little bit of flavour. Then we're going to need 5 grams of flat leaf parsley. That can be given a rough chop. You can cut it as large or as fine as you wanted it to, just make sure there's no large leaves or stems. Let's then add that into the couscous, and by the way, that is completely optional. Then we're going to need 1 lemon, and we're going to use the zest from this, not the juice. You can add juice if you wanted to, but we're only going to zest half of the lemon. We don't want this to be overpowering. Also, I'm sure someone's probably going to point it out, but I know that I'm using the microplane the wrong way. Last but not least for the couscous, we'll season it up with sea salt flakes and some ground white pepper to taste. Give this a really good mix through, making sure everything's completely mixed and all those flavors are combined. And this right here is the macros per portion for the couscous alone. Moving on, we'll place a large pan or wok over a medium-high heat. Add in 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of peanut oil and get this nice and hot. Add in the vegetables, which is the broccoli and those halved beans. Season to taste with sea salt flakes, and you can add a little bit of ground white pepper in here if you wanted to. Then we're going to stir fry this for about 6 to 7 minutes, not 67 minutes, just until it's nice and lightly charred and a little bit soft. We don't want this to be completely cooked through because this recipe is obviously designed to be reheated, plus once we take it off the heat, they will continue to cook. What we're looking for is something that looks like this. It has a little bit of resistance to the bite, and they taste absolutely fantastic. But with that done, this can then be removed from the stovetop, and these are the macros for these vegetables alone. And like I said, this is per portion. Now for the apricot chicken, place a large pan over a high heat, add in 1 tablespoon of peanut oil, and then we're going to slide in our seasoned thighs. Spread this out so it's not sitting on top of one another, and we're going to allow this to sit for about 3 minutes just to get a really nice golden sear on it. We don't have to mix it during this stage, we just want to get that nice colour all over. After 3 minutes, we can then start mixing it, and you'll notice that you got that nice golden sear all over, and we're going to repeat that same process. Just give this a really good mix through, spread it out again, making sure it's not sitting on top of one another, and then just let it sit for another 3 minutes untouched. So this has now been 6 minutes in total. We're going to cook this for a further 1 minute, but this time we can just mix it every now and again just to get the colour all over, making sure every little piece is completely golden brown. The chicken will be fully cooked through at this point, so there's no need to worry about raw chicken, but at this stage we can then add in that apricot sauce. We're going to give this a really good mix through, and this will deglaze the pan, pulling up any of those stuck flavours at the bottom. It doesn't matter if it is a little bit dark, just make sure it's not completely black. With that in, just continue mixing this through. The sauce will come to a boil, and we're going to cook this for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. And during this stage, the sauce will thicken up really well, creating that beautiful apricot sauce that can then be removed from the stovetop. And these are the macros for the apricot chicken alone. Serving up, super simple. Divide everything by 5. The containers I use are 750 milliliters in size. Just make sure you tuck everything in neatly so you can get it into 3 different sections with the couscous, the stir-fried vegetables, and then of course the apricot chicken. There will be a little bit of leftover sauce in the pan, so make sure you top it off. And you can also garnish these with some spring onion or scallion stems for a little bit of decoration. And with that done, we're left with these beautiful apricot chicken meal preps, and this is the macros per portion for the complete dish, which is everything together. Now, as always, we're going to allow these to cool down for about 15 to 20 minutes before placing them in the fridge for up to 4 days and in the freezer for up to 4 months. You can reheat them in the pan or in the microwave, just do whatever is easiest for you. And I don't recommend reheating these from frozen, just allow them to defrost in the fridge overnight. With everything said and done, the only thing that is left to do is, of course, we can then dig in. If you've been enjoying the lemon, honey, and orange chicken recipes, then definitely add that to your list because that is beautiful. The flavors blend so well together. It's not too sweet, it's not too salty, and it's just perfect consistency of sauce. Obviously, we've left the couscous nice and simple, but the whole idea of this is to mix it all together, and that's where all of the flavor is. You can partner this with pretty much anything you want, serve it with rice, or just leave it out completely and do extra veg. It is completely up to you. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button. It really does help me out, and consider subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.